Hi, I will present my final project in which I have been working on during all of the semester. I decided to focus on freefall. So let's move on towards the first slide. Here's the justification. I chose to study the height and how it affects the time it takes to fall of an object because last semester I chose to focus on the weight, like how it affected the time it took to fall if the weight changed. Nevertheless, I discovered that this doesn't affect, so this is why I decided to study it from another perspective. Now, to the theoretical framework. Freefall happens when an object is attracted towards the ground by the force of gravity. Now, one thing that I pointed out in this slide was that the mass of the object does not affect the velocity in which it falls, which is a very common misconception, which was one that I had last semester that I proved wrong. So now, one important thing to mention is that our initial acceleration will always be of 9.81 meters over second square, which is the value of gravity on Earth. And yeah, I also explain that I will focus on how changing height will affect the time it takes for the object to fall. And here are my variables that I used. First, independent variables, we would have the velocity that changes depending on the time, and the time, which would also change depending on the height. Well, that's things that we already know, but we want to prove correct in this experiment. And the independent variable would be the height from which the object is dropped, because height can be changed without depending on either time or weight or anything else. And our controlled variables would be our acceleration and the mass of an object, because we will always be using the same values, since I would always be using the same marble, and gravity does not change in the Earth. Okay, in the next slide here I have a video of my recording of the procedure of what I did. So I will explain what I did. I used a marble and let it roll down surfaces of different heights. And once I let them fall, I had my watch like here, and so I let them fall and I measured the time it took for the marble to fall. And afterwards, I registered them in a notebook, which I also put some pictures of that. And yeah, we can move on to this. And these were the results. As we can see, the height definitely changed the time it took for the marble to fall to the ground. For instance, we started having, well, these are not in order, but we can see that like the lowest heights, which in this case could be the center table, took about 0.30 seconds, while the largest height being this, maybe the chimney, no, the shelf, it took 0.58 seconds. Now it's like a very minuscule change, but this in a big scale can make a big change in the time to fall. And now with the congruency. After investigating in different web pages, I came to the conclusion that my conclusion from the experiment was correct. As the height displacement increases, the longer it takes for the robocopter to fall. This is a phrase I took from a page which they proved this thesis right by using a lot of formulas. So we can also check that this is correct using our acceleration formula and substituting the values in the gaps. Now, what can I improve for next time? First of all, I consider that implementing a partner or asking somebody to help me would be a big help, because it happened to me various times, and it can be seen on the video, that I let the marble fall and I could not measure the time correctly. Like it took me 1 second or more to measure it. So there might be slight differences from reality with the data I took because of that. And as well, one could be taking the time while another one lets the marble fall, and this would make the data more accurate. And second would be the use of a real chronometer, because I used my watch, and well, I don't know how accurate that is and how, like, pressing the button, how fast that goes. And so this may also modify the veracity of our data. And these are the references, and that would be it. Thank you.